Welcome back, chums. My name is LastKnownMeal, and today we are beginning a series of lore videos which are going to explain everything new and old we have seen and heard from Phantom Liberty trailer and the story. And the first topic we are going to talk about is the Unification War, aka Metal Wars. This is important because Kurt Hansen, one of the most influential people we are going to meet, took over Combat Zone during that time and renamed it into Dog Town, which it is today. Keep in mind that this takeover he did is probably the first time in the entire lore history that someone managed to get a full, or well, almost a full grip of the Combat Zone. Being basically a PvP zone, there were series of faction, bandits, local criminals who resided there and reside to this day, so to either unite them all or well destroy them is honestly unprecedented. But to understand how he did it, we have to go back to 2069, when Rosalind Myers, that we know from the expansion now, came into power as president. First off, she's an ex-Militech CEO and an ex-Marine, so she knows both sides of everything, including the conflict and bureaucracy in the federal government. Because during 2020s and 2045, which is the time of the Red, America was somewhat divided, with East Coast being aligned more with the federal government and ultimately being somewhat of their HQ, and with the West Coast being divided into three independent states and Night City being a free city. And those independent states were Colorado, New Mexico, Wyoming, Montana, Arizona, Nevada, and North Cal. But you also have to keep in mind that Washington, Oregon, and Idaho were also free states, but they made a lot of concessions to the new United States government, so they were not really free, but it's most important that they maintain their neutrality during the upcoming war that is going to, well, follow. Of course, Rosalind Myers wanted to unite all of the states again and include them into the federal government. So in 2069, with the help of nationalized Militech forces, because keep in mind after the Fourth Corporate War, which I already made a video on, so check it out, Militech stopped being an independent corporation and became a part of New United States. But that is expected because Militech was always US oriented. It's a US company after all, founded by a US general, so whatever it took to fight Arasaka, they were more than ready for it. So ultimately Rosalind Myers declared war on all of these separatist free states, and when the fighting started, it was fought by some of the most cutting-edge technology, hence the name Metal Wars. But keep in mind, those free states were being pumped by weapons and tech from Arasaka because, well, enemy of my enemy becomes my friend, and Arasaka wanted to find a way into North America again and to also somewhat return fire to Militech and Nusa, because ultimately Militech and Nusa were the one which in the end kinda shunned them away from US, but of course they kinda did it, you know, for themselves as well, with the Fourth Corporate War and all of that. Because keep in mind, at that time, the only HQ, or well, the strongest HQ of Arasaka was in Japan, so they were looking for every possible way to go back into the United States. So after the war began, both Nusa and Free States were making somewhat of a progress, and on both sides casualties were very high. Of course, the United States managed to push into the outskirts of Night City, so the Badlands area basically, and everything around it was pretty much surrounded by the federal government. And the Night City managed to avoid full invasion by a very tiny margin, because Lucius Rhine, that we know from the game, who was a councilman at that time, called Arasaka for help. And straight away, after a few days, you had Arasaka supercarrier appear in the bay. And of course, once that happened, you know, Nusa forces would have to withdraw, because that would mean huge casualties on both sides, and who knows how much of Night City would be actually left. And this is where the problem came with Arasaka, you know, basically wanting another war. Something had to be done, because if it wasn't, another global conflict would begin, and Nusa wasn't really strong or, you know, ready to fight a global conflict again. So in 2070 a peace treaty was signed, so hostilities calmed down, and the general agreement was that states which are free remain free but have to participate in the federal government, at least in some capacity. For Night City this was a big sacrifice, not because of United States but mostly because of Arasaka, because when Lucius called them, he gave them an entry back into, America, which is going to be now in Night City, and this is also where they built a second Arasaka tower that we know from the game itself in the corporate district. And keep in mind, this deal was not good for anyone, no one was happy about it. So you have to understand that you will have some military personnel, especially the higher up ones, either go their own way or take matters into their own hands. And Kurt actually fits this description really well. His army is made from ex-Militech soldiers, he is a colonel after all, and various thugs and bandits, so even though we don't really know much about him, I would say that maybe he was a Nusa or Militech colonel, again, affiliated with them, unless he was a part of Free State, which wouldn't be a surprise, but I don't really see him coming to Night City to set everything up. If he was actually fighting for the Free States, he would maybe stay there, but of course we will find out more about it once the expansion drops. I would also say the reason why he managed to take over Combat Zone is because of the amount of weapons left after the war. As I said before, the metal wars were fought with some of the best, technology money can buy. So because you have Militech and Arasaka pumping all of those weapons and tech into various combat zone, there is going to be a lot of leftovers. And also Militech Chimera that we know from the trailer is going to be one of those things, is going to be one of those weapons left after the war. So using it would be, well, deadly, because those things were made for full global conflicts, not just some, regular squabble in Night City. So to have Rosalind Myers fly over Night City was a bit interesting. I mean, no one really likes her or Nusa there, so having Kurt or someone else use this opportunity to crash her Space Force 1 takes guts. And because, as I said, a lot of people were not happy with the treaty, I am pretty sure that someone out there wants to break the status quo and maybe start another war. Because of this, I do think that maybe Nusa and Militech forces will encircle Night City again. I mean, this is the president after all, but it's this war which gave power and tech to various people who seized it, creating more issues, hence Kurt Hansen. So the peace which was established is relatively weak and is only there because both Arasaka, Militech and all of the Free States are strong but not strong enough to basically go into full conflict, especially what was happening after the Fourth and, during the Fourth Corporate War. So in the chaos of war, in the chaos during the time of the Red, where people did not have much, and Night City was rebuilt by citizens who were helped by nomads and smaller corporations, it was relatively easy to take over certain zones. Of course not the center of the city, but because combat zone is left by the corpos and the police, it was the easiest part Kurt could have taken with, his Escobar approach. Give people water, food, shelter and create a cult of loyal people who will follow you. It's a genius move and goes along with his persona. Of course, Rosalind doesn't want another war, but what will this event follow? Well, that is unknown and expansion will tell us, because this is where the lore actually stops. And next time we're going to talk more about Combat Zone and other stuff, so stay tuned and subscribe for more, and click the like button if you want to stay tuned with all of the previous lore videos I have done. Also check out the GOG affiliate link below if you're planning to buy Cyberpunk or something else. You can help the channel with no additional cost. Huge thanks to my current Patreon supporters, and if you have any questions or comments, drop them down below, because I'm very interested to hear your opinion about all of this and what do you think will happen at the end or during the expansion itself. This is LKM signing out, stay classy everyone, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.